So HEDD's tower mains are more than 2 meters tall, so they're even taller than me. I can't really bring a pair home to listen to them in my 6 meter by 5 meter room here. That's not really feasible. So HEDD have lent me a pair of their Type 20 monitor. So as you can see, these are big, they're black. What you might not notice from the photos on the HEDD website is that this finish is like a rubbery type finish. It's sort of a silky rubber. It's quite nice. So this is a 3-way loudspeaker, bass driver, mid driver, AMT folded ribbon tweeter. These are all driven by Class D amplification inside, but the crossover is not DSP, it's all analog. And my overall impression of this speaker is they give a very clean window on the music. In fact, I would call it squeegee clean, as Bill Hicks used to say about taking hallucinogenics, which I think is very rewarding if you're somebody who listens to a lot of detail or for a lot of detail. And that means that the Type 20 have a very strong sense of accuracy. Not accuracy as in true to the source, because we can never know, but a strong sense of accuracy, because accuracy is a feeling. So these loudspeakers give a very strong feeling of being accurate or transparent or whatever you want to call it. So in 1993, American Music Club convened with producer Mitchell Froom to make this album. This is Mercury. This is a very dense, depressing art rock record. And I ripped this to my Roon Nucleus using a different device, and then streamed it from my PS Audio Direct Stream DAC into these speakers using the balance connection here. There's also single-ended, but I didn't use that. And listening to this album again after quite a long time, what I realized that I was getting from these loudspeakers, their interpretation, was a crystal clear clarity on vocals. So mid-range information really steps out into the room. And then when I played Sandwell District's Fabric mix, one thing I really noticed with these was that the dynamics of these loudspeakers is exceptional, especially in the low end. These really punch very hard. So you get the feeling that you're getting a lot of low end action. And I'm kind of glad that my neighbour's away at the moment. And I bet she's glad she's away too, because I've been playing these pretty loud. They kick so hard with electronic music, they're fantastic. But so much so that I actually had to dial the bass back using the trim pots here, because it was just too much for my room, or too much for my taste in this room. Which also tells us that these speakers will play very nicely in a much larger room than this and fill it at no problem at all. But don't confuse this with big, loose, voluptuous bass. This is extremely tight bass, but it's just highly dynamic. It punches really hard. I'm not really an expert in the field of home theatre. I don't do surround sound or anything like that. And I very rarely use a subwoofer, hardly ever. But these speakers would be exceptional as a home theatre stand-in. Watching Netflix, vocals are crystal clear, and there's a tremendous sense of excitement with very dramatic passages of music, which is what you want from home theatre. But what I really wanted to know in starting this assignment with HEDD was whether these speakers sound fundamentally different somehow to the KEF and the ELAC actives that I have behind me, which are pitched towards home users, not studio users. And I did draw some fairly brief conclusions. Firstly, these speakers don't image quite as nicely as the KEF or the ELACs. The soundstage is not quite as precise, especially in the depth plane. But this is a minor difference. It's nothing really large. But one thing that's indisputable is that these speakers dig for much more detail when listening to the Irish folk rock of the Waterboys. You can hear right into the recording with these loudspeakers, and I don't feel that way when I cut back to the ELAC Navis or the KEF LS50 wireless. But this loudspeaker's undeniable strongest suit is dynamics, especially in the low end. And they make the ELACs behind me sound a bit warm and fuzzy, but these heads make the KEF sound like shy, retiring type speakers, and they're really not. So the Type 20 give us an extremely detailed and visceral listening experience. But really what I've discovered from spending a few days with these speakers is that there is no fundamental sonic difference between speakers like this that are sort of mainly pitched at the studio world and speakers like the KEF and the ELAC that are mainly pitched towards audiophiles. That's interesting, isn't it? Are we still rolling here?